So, third day after positive COVID diagnosis, got the call on Easter Sunday. We are here at Tuesday night. Pretty much been free of fever for the last 24 hours. We'll call it that. And still no respiratory symptoms to speak of, so that's a plus. Unfortunately, right now, I'm going into a realm with this that I didn't want to have to go into, that I really, really, really wanted to avoid. And sorry for everyone out there who doesn't want to hear me get subtly political with this. This isn't about sides. This isn't about any of that. This is straight up about right and wrong as far as politics are concerned and what's going on. And I'm going to tell you this firsthand because, as I said yesterday, my wife has been having a harder time with respiratory symptoms with this. She has asthma, and there were some issues with her shortness of breath where it was necessary to find some type of medical treatment for her today. Now, we had been told through and through, seek your primary care physician because they're going to be the ones that can do anything. Unfortunately, as per our governor's orders in this state, and as per the way they're treating this and the way they're going about this, it is nearly impossible to get a hold of your primary care physician. And that was also made clear when the health department called after positive diagnoses were given for me and my wife. They had talked to both me and her, and they had said, yeah, well, if you need anything as far as this goes, and asked about other symptoms and some other things. And they had even made note that it's very frustrating right now that it's all but impossible to get in to talk to a primary care physician, even over the phone. And that's the way we had initially tracked it down. We had went to go with an e-visit or somehow doing a video conference with primary care, and there was no way to do it. None whatsoever way to get that done. Nothing. Finally got through to a nurse on the line who's associated with our primary care physician, and even she couldn't get us through to my wife's primary care physician. In the end, they said, well, you're going to have to go into the hospital. Now, as far as the experience going into ER, let me tell you this, and this is specifically the way Spectrum's running it. As far as their healthcare professionals, I had good things to say yesterday. I don't have much to say good about their security and the way they're running it, because when you go into an ER, I get times are tough right now, but it shouldn't feel like you're walking into the green zone from outside the wire in Baghdad. Ever. And that's the way they have it set up. Whether you think the security is or isn't necessary, that's not the point. The point is, my wife went in with respiratory symptoms that were problematic above what we thought were manageable at home, but not so severe where we thought hospitalization was a thing. We needed her to be prescribed something, some way, something that would at least help alleviate some of the symptoms, because it's a virus. You can't fight a virus with medication. You can alleviate symptoms. They weren't willing to prescribe anything. In fact, all they did after getting there and checking in around noon was get her checked in, get her into a room, take her vitals. BP was not as high as it usually is, and pulse ox was still good, though. And a chest x-ray. Did not see a single doctor, did not see anyone as far as a medical professional is concerned, other than to hook her up to EKG, read the machine, and that was it. 3 hours later, released with no prescription, nothing given to at least mitigate symptoms or anything to make sure she wasn't going to end up in a worse state, needing oxygen, needing anything. Absolutely no preventative care was given whatsoever. That is not medicine. I was headed into the medical realm at one point in life. I was a biochem major. That was the field I was going into, and I left it because it was more of a business, and I wanted to believe that in this, somehow, there was care for individuals, there was care for patients, and I've still been proven right in my assessment of the medical field as far as what it is right now. Because they weren't interested in helping my wife unless she was either going to be admitted and hospitalized or unless she was on her deathbed. And that is not acceptable. That is far from acceptable. That is far what must be being done. But it turns out our governor doesn't care unless you're hospitalized or dead and in those numbers. Now, you say this is anecdotal. Maybe. Maybe it is, but if you want to believe that realm, then why, oh why, were we told by several nurses and several doctors when trying to track down her primary care physician or get her a hold of some physician that there really wasn't much they could do or prescribe over the phone at all, period, even though the positive COVID test is in her chart, because it's there, right there in the chart. That is the state of things. That is where things are right now. It's not okay. That is not medical care. Because the goal of medical care is to prevent you from ending up needing to be hospitalized or on your deathbed. And we're not providing that care. So yeah, this is a little bit more of an angry video. And this anger is very much at how this is being handled. I actually read the handout that they gave her on COVID-19 and everything that it entails and all the basic stuff you would expect to see. But there was some rumors going around and some reporting that our governor, Whitmer, here in Michigan, had told medical professionals they weren't allowed to prescribe things like hydroxychloroquine and Z-Pak, and supposedly she backed off on it. But when you look at the Spectrum Health advisement on treatment, if you look right down there at the bottom line of what they say as far as treatment goes, and they say, well, there's no real treatment we can give because the FDA hasn't cleared anything. So the hospitals are towing the governor's line. And that's a problem. Sorry about the thumb. So that's where things are at. That's where we stand. Very pissed off. Very much not okay with the way things are. And things need to change. Mind you, this is in Grand Rapids. This isn't a facility that isn't bogged down by massive amounts of patients. This is an area that is fairly densely populated. Not nearly as much as, say, Detroit or Flint. Not getting nearly the number of cases as those major areas. So treatment should be there and readily available. And they're not treating symptoms to prevent worse illness. And I know there's only so much you can do. I get that. I understand it's a new virus. But there are things you can do to mitigate symptoms. And they're not even willing to do it. And the question I have to ask is why? So that's where we stand 3 days after, with no faith in our medical system, and even less faith in our government. Take care of yourselves, patriots, because it turns out at the end of the day, you're all you've got.